is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. I hope that you are doing well, taking care of yourself, and living your best life today. Today, of course, is Wednesday, so it's a Wealthy Wednesday. That means that we are going to dig deeper, ask the questions on how do we make wealth? How do we get ourselves? And you know, this is one of those big things with me, the mindset shift. What is necessary for one to get in the mindset of wealth? Then how to multiply wealth. I always listen to I'm reminded of the parable of the master and his servants with the talents, and how each one was given one. And there was an unspoken mandate to do something with it. An unspoken mandate that the expectation of the master was that you are to be a good steward of this money. An unspoken mandate that you should know by now that what you have been given should grow. And I believe that God has this unspoken but spoken mandate for many of us in all our lives. That if I give you the ability to work, I want you to multiply those efforts, not just in labor, but in the capacity to create more. There is an unspoken thing that if you are a child of the King, you can't look like a beggar. And this is not about faking it until you make it. It's understanding that there is a principle, an audacity of being a child of the King, of walking in that purpose, in that confidence, in that mentality that things will open for you. Doors will open, but I've got to be able to walk in them. There's an unspoken message and mandate on if you know who you are and whose you are, you will behave, you will think, you will do differently and better. You must strive to live up to the name of your family. Don't live below the name, live above the name. And see, I subscribe to the thing that my father is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Okay, so today I preach it for some reason. I know where it's come from. But I'm from a different kingdom. So my earthly father has given me good tools of financial wisdom, you know. He's not rich, but he taught me something. My earthly father, my wonderful dad, taught me some things about multiplication. If you have it, multiply it, invest it. Meager beginnings, meager ideas, and invest it. Now, he's not rich, but he will leave his children a legacy. My heavenly father taught me to live way beyond the things that I can see, the things that I could name, the things that I could claim, to live way beyond the limitations and expectations of others, to see the unseen, and even what you don't see, what you cannot comprehend, live in total expectation, an eager expectation and anticipation of what he can do beyond what you can see. So when I talk about these things about wealth and why it's so important for me to share these things with you, is that when it was shared to me, I remember I was 18. The first time anyone ever spoke to me about financial freedom was when I was 18. And it was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Trevor Nottage, right? My first thing, forget that. The first time he spoke to me was, hey, what are you thinking about when you think about money? Do you think about money? Do you think about wealth? Do you think about these things? And then he gave me a book. He told me, buy this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Then he had myself and some of my other we were children then, little children. And In any other world, you might have thought it was weird, right? But this gentleman had so much interest in our financial knowledge. It was, I mean, it was just weird how and weird and wonderful how he mentored us. And I'm always drawn to mentors. I love new conversations and people will build me up in areas that and I always had this expectation because I got saved early that God was going to teach me things I didn't ask to be taught. But then he had me play this game called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So the cash flow game. Kiyosaki, those had Cash Flow 101, how to get out of the rat race. This board game called Cash Flow. One of the greatest, most I will tell you now, the game may cost $99, but it is worth it. I've yet to have a game about finance, and Monopoly is a joke. Monopoly ain't no real thing. This game is it. And it began to change my mindset. And so now I believe in Live, that you sow seeds and multiply. It changed the parable of the seed and the sower. It changed the parable for me of the servants with the talents. There's an expectation of multiplication. Our God, when he speaks, it is. Sorry, man, this ain't church day. Some of y'all don't believe in God. My bad. I just telling you, I know our God here. And, I can't see something and think it ain't going to multiply. So bad habits, bad seeds, if I sow those things in the world, they will multiply. There are certain principles to this thing. And the principle also of sowing the seed in good soil. How do you know good soil? That's a whole other stuff. I need a real pastor to preach that one. How do you know good soil? Live in purpose. When you live in purpose, God will reveal it all to you. Through someone else, through yourself, you'll be surprised. But I got a show for you today, and I'm excited about this show. Now, this young lady, every time she comes on, I'm always moved by how much I just enjoy when she speaks. So she's a teacher. She's a teacher. She's a teacher on financial principles. She's an accountant by trade, but buddy, all of her certifications say that thing I happen to have as an extra. That's a side hustle. That accountancy thingy. That's that degree may be real and legit, but that's my side hustle because I've trumped that with all of my other certifications. Financial instructor. She's a coach. I have all of these things written down, and I'm the worst. Why do I do this? All these years of doing this, and I still ain't no better at it. And I want to read some of the titles that she has. An accountant of 25 years. Kayleen G. Newton is a certified fraud examiner. Y'all hear that? She know when y'all teething. A certified financial crime specialist. Jesus, I definitely got to be right. And a certified financial education instructor. She's also coined as the Bahamian money maven, and she's been able to influence and impact over 5,000 individuals through her brand, Live Life Free, with her training events. And she's also facilitated the access of over 1.3 million for her clients as a consultant for the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. She's the founder of Amplify Your Legacy, a mindset and money mastery movement. Y'all know this. I don't talk to these regular people. Let me focus. Today's Wednesday. Let me get my life together. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, all the way from the sister island that always, I don't know why we treat them so, but one of the most beautiful places for some of the most beautiful people, the one and only Kayleen G. Newton, all the way from Grand Bahama. Kayleen, darling, how are you?
I am well, Nahaja. Thank you for having me here with you today.
Listen, did you like the intro? Did you feel it good?
I love it. I just need to carry you along with me.
All we need
love
now
the excitement and enthusiasm.
That's it. Yeah, and all I need now is the thing that you wave, right? The horns, the one that the bullhorn, Burr, 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 burr.
Love it.
So it's so good to have you on today, darling. Let me tell you, it is an honor and a pleasure because whenever we speak, you drop knowledge. You give us not just thought bubbles, right? But also then steps and a level of introspection that I think is always important when we talk about money, because I above all of the steps, the tangible steps of, okay, you can move from point A, B, C, I can hold your hand, right? There is that understanding of how to fish, that understanding of how to, because, there's a saying, Tell me and I'll forget. Show me, I'll remember. Involve me and I'll understand. I believe that understanding the fundamental concepts of wealth creation, generation, multiplication, that means that even if you go broke, you can start again. Your confidence is not shattered because the process is what you've gone through, right? So I love that. I believe that you, Kayleen, help people to understand the concept, the process, and elevates their confidence. And so for that, I thank you so much. So let's do this.
Yes.
Today, we're talking about generating and multiplying wealth. And I want to ask you, and I've asked you this many times before when you come on the show, start me off with the mindset. Because before I can make it, I got to see it.
Yes.
So how do I see it? How do I see it?
The starting point is definitely the mindset. I am of the belief that your child is the blueprint of your adulthood. And what that means is whatever experiences, whatever education, whichever, challenges, or even your environment creates who you are as an adult. And you would say, how does this connect with my mindset? Your beliefs create your behaviors. That's the bottom line. Even if a perception otherwise, whatever is going on in your mind is what is creating who you are as a person and what you do as an individual, especially with your finances, especially with your money. Now, I love your introduction where you talked about your earthly father, and then you spoke more importantly about our heavenly Father that also now gives us access to even understanding more about what we can do when it comes to our money. And when you put the two together, sometimes we want to throw away what we would have grown up in because we believe that it was all negative. But nothing should be wasted. We should look at every aspect of our life and understand those things that we can now apply or leverage or learn differently as we become an adult. So definitely it's our mindset. If we don't believe it, it can never happen for ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that we have that magnitude of a mindset where once we get started, we are going to accomplish everything. We are human beings, and the natural part of us always thinks about the ifs and the unknowns and just other things that can distract us. But in order for us to shift our mindset, we must put some simple strategies in place in order to turn that noise down and bring up the volume on the things that are positive that can continue with us as we go on that journey.
Yeah, no, you're hitting some big nuggets now, and I love this. So this is what we're going to do with this first segment, because I want some tips and tricks on resetting the mindset. I've been talking about this for forever. Everybody should know this, but ad nauseum, I feel as if that's what you do. You constantly say, hey, make sure your mind is right. Make sure I know that the battle is in your mind first. How do we adjust that mind from the poverty? Because we spoke many times, Kayleen, about these, what do we call them? The limiting beliefs, right?
Negative limiting beliefs.
Yes, right? And these narratives that we carry with us, right? I come from nothing and I'll die from nothing. Or what people have said, you're just like you're no good, X, Y, and Z. You ain't no, and so there are some things that have been spoken over us that we've internalized that we need to shift out of. And I never see nobody out in my family do well, right? So how are we supposed to do well? Oh, you can't win without the man them opening the door.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
And it's all a psychology. And in the financial realm, we call it the psychology of money. So psychology talks about your mindset. And in order for you to shift your mindset, you have to acknowledge where you're at first. we talked about money stories before, and these are the money stories that you were illustrating just now. I'm broke. Money doesn't grow on tree. I'll never have enough. No one in my family ever had anything. Why should I have anything? What's the difference between all of these narratives continue to play on us and in our minds. But once you acknowledge, you're able to assess it. So that is where you have to start. You have to acknowledge that this is where I'm at. This is what I grew up in. This is how I understand it. But you have to also say in that same framework that this is not who I am destined to be. Okay, so it is a juxtaposition, but it's something that you have to be very confident about. When you start off, you may not see it, but if you speak it until you see it. And so, number one, acknowledge who you are and your psychology around money, how you understand money, with the environment that you grew up in, and how it framed who you are. And the next step after that is to say and identify, I no longer want to be who I was. So you can now forgive yourself for any money mistakes, forgive your lineage, your past generation, your parents, because a lot of things we hold on to and we blame others, like the family that we grew up in, like religion, like culture, like environment. We blame those things and it keeps us stuck. So once we now release that, then we can move forward in identifying or finding that information necessary for me to do differently. Okay? So those are the first three crucial and critical steps. And it does not even start with identifying the money challenges. It starts with the mindset. And if you don't start with the mindset, here's what happens. You continue to carry those habits. You may have some wins. Your pathway may look different, but then you wonder why you get stuck and you cannot go any place beyond where you're at because you didn't do the mindset work. So I always say to persons, a lot of people want to be millionaires. But if you don't know how to manage and be a good steward over what you have, how do you think you're going to be able to manage and be a good steward over maintaining millionaire status? So you might be able to get there, but you won't be able to maintain it.
Go on, girl. Go. Oh, that's a word. And because if you're just tuning in, Kaylee and G. Newton joining us, certified financial instructor, joining us on the show, accountant, of course, fraud expert and criminal. Man, listen, anything with money, don't break the law and come and get rich. That's Kayleen right here in a nutshell. Because you hit on some very strong points there, Kayleen, when you talk about forgiveness of yourself, right? Some of us, I don't understand that weight, but I'm aware of the weight where some folks have some secrets with money, right? Poor spending habits that affect marriages and relationships, where one spouse is has a secret credit card or got a secret boo, but that's a whole other show. That ain't the one. Where we have debt from other, we took on debt from our parents and brought it into the marriage, and now we're unable to move forward. All of these things are affecting people, and there is guilt, there is shame, and to know that process of forgiving yourself also, I think at times requires you asking forgiveness of others. Some people have gambling issues, gambling debts, and they started off wanting to try and get rich quick, to do this thing here, to do that thing there, and it's now led to an addiction. That level of needing to forgive yourself and ask for forgiveness financially, that's a process in and of itself. Yeah. How do you, when you talk about financial, when you give this financial consulting and the psychology of money, how do you talk to people about that process of forgiveness?
So definitely it is multidimensional, but at its core, it's just letting go. Literally saying, I didn't know any better. Even if I knew better, I am now ready to do better. And just understanding too that you're not the only one that has done this. Because a lot of people also hold on to that guilt because they are afraid that they're the only one that has ever done this. And they also connect their challenges with money with that of who they are as a person. And so when you now identify what you do with your money as who you are, this is the reason why they do these things. This is the reason why they would not be very transparent or honest with a spouse or even with children, or they would by any means necessary do what it takes in order to fulfill these desires and wants of others. And it also stems from the fact that if they're a people pleaser, that now also connects to what they do with their pocket. So, as I said, it's very multidimensional, and there's not just one fix for it. And so, this is the reason why you have to be careful who you have guiding you through this process. And just because I'm an accountant, just because I have all of the other certifications, I had to be very intentional about gaining the educational instructor certification because there is a process and you have to be very careful how you walk persons through it. And so there's no one size fits all. And you have to do a pre-assessment so you could understand where the guilt comes from, where the shame comes from. And they have to be very, they have to also realize that you are giving them a non-judgmental zone or environment so that they can now peel back the layers in order to share with you, for you to move them on their journey from forgiveness to wholeness when it comes with their money.
Yeah, boy, this is powerful too, because of course that's that level of honesty that one must have with themselves first, right? You have to have that come to Jesus moment when you're so broken and you're so contrite, you're so tired of where you are, where you've been, and you have to say to yourself, enough. There is an enough is enough moment. I think all of us have to have enough in some relationships, enough with our financial situation being the way it is, enough with walking and moving around. Some point the children of Israel should have said enough. 40 years is way too long going around this mountain. What are we doing wrong? Because there was a promise. And I think that is why I said at the beginning, Kayleen, that the expectation comes with an understanding. For me, I have an expectation of more because there were some things promised not to man by man, but by God. So if he says, then I live in the I am sort of matrix of the world, where I say, hold on, man, if you said X, explain to me now why I still going around the circle. This got to be on me now, God. Or you telling me I need to say, what am I doing wrong? And I think that there's a lot of that where we have to say, hold on. But there's an eager expectation for greatness. When I wake up in the morning, I'm uncomfortable with my situation. So I know I'm greater, better, bigger than the present situation. How do I move my children from a legacy or a history where my family hasn't had assets? We never left anything to anyone. I want to leave my children with something. What do I do to change that mindset? So let's take a break. When we come back, Kayleen Newton is going to talk to us. Today we're talking about making, generating, and multiplying wealth. We will be back right after this.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
JS Johnson Insurance. Peace of mind.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. It's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. It's a Wealthy Wednesday, y'all. We are talking about generating, multiplying wealth with the one and only certified financial education instructor, Kayleen G. Newton, also known as the Money Maven. And we will discuss how you can find her if you want her to teach at your church. All right, darling. Let's talk, Kayleen, about so we spoke briefly about the mindset, right? Knowing you have to get your mind in order, got to get your head right, get in the game, get your head in the game. You're coming off the bench now. You're going to do some work because now, the road to success is definitely one that meets with preparation. You got to get ready, right? One of the questions that I always get, Nahaja, you're talking a good game, but I don't make much money. I don't have the resources to invest in X, Y, and Z, right? So how do I make money when I ain't got no money? You see how that's, you heard that line, right? How do I make money when I ain't got no money? Like, you start, because I know where I start. You start.
So you before we went into the break, you talked about, I only make $210 or make minimum wage. How can I save? And I love to have these types of conversations so that I can also mirror the answer to others because I lived it. When I returned home from college with a double degree and had a lot of experience, I was unable to become employed. My first job out of college, I was making $150 a week. Now, at the time, my mom had also taken out an educational loan for me to pursue further education of my bachelor's. And when I returned home, I now had to take on those payments. The monthly payment was $600. And I tell people, you do the math. Thankfully, and I looked forward to those 5-week months, because then I was able to now have a full week's salary to do other things with. And I use that example, $100 a week, $600, $150 times 4 is $600. So all of my income was going to my loan, okay? Now, what I also learned very quickly in life is that savings is necessary. It should be mandatory. We need to understand the concept of paying yourself first. And when I learned that very early in life, I learned that as a high school student in the 10th grade. And so I bring those two experiences together to say to your listening audience that it is not the destination that you should focus on, but the habits that get you to the destination. What we all focus on, why we say we don't have it, is what that destination is. Okay, my light bill is $200. I only make $200 and that's it. Or, the grocery bill is $100. I only make $100 and that's it. Not realizing that we have to now sacrifice in the short term in order to meet the long term. And how do we sacrifice? We now create new habits that will refocus where we're at. You know, when you look at the fast food lines, I'm going to use grocery as an example, or spending money on food, because that's the number one budget. You know, it just breaks your budget when it comes to any kind of spending, and it's your grocery or your food bill. But you pass these fast food lines and it is just enormous. But you go to the food store and the lines are less. You just have to make a decision, a determined decision, that I'm going to do some things or create some habits in the short term that may seem like struggle, but in the long term would allow you to have what you ultimately desire. So yes, you may not make any money, but the one thing you could start with is just tucking away or squirreling away. As one of my mentors say, you squirrel away before you spend away. Whereas a lot of us spend first and then say we have nothing left to save. So that's even before we get into the multiplying of it. You need to understand the concepts or the principles of managing what you have.
Yep. Oh, come on now. That's a word. That's a word.
In the initial stages of feeling constricted that I don't have enough, this is when you have to sacrifice in order to move from that space. Because what ends up happening is, and I say this to people all the time, if you don't have enough, and we know what inflation is doing because it's causing the cost to rise exponentially, then when will you ever have enough? So if you don't try to see how you can deal with the challenge at this stage, you won't come back or get over the challenge as you move in life, because inflation is inevitable. And so in the first instance, even if it's $5, and see, this is the thing. We think we need some sophisticated, some big number, some massive amount in order to accomplish what we need. No, we need to pace ourselves. You have to be patient. You have to acknowledge where you're at. And with acknowledging that, then put aside what you have. And you have to be consistent. And you have to also endure to the end. Because most persons who are successful in pulling themselves out the rut, in coming from not having enough to be able to say that you have a six-figure savings, is because you started and you continued and you ended. A lot of us just start and then throw in the towel. And so it may sound as if it's harsh because it's always the argument or the discussion or the discourse that you would never understand. And that's why I share my story. You believe I would never understand, but you don't know my story. You make an assumption because you only see me on this part of this journey. But when I came back from college and I started to work, I was 22. I am now going to be 47.
You look good, gal.
It doesn't happen overnight, but you consistently maintain the habits that you gain and you carry through with you, no matter what happens after or during the journey. And you will consistently see where you're able to now look different, be successful, experience life differently, shift those generational dynamics, change everything for your children, be in a different position in order to now share with others your experiences so that they can now do kind of gains.
Okay, that last part there, we kind of lost you on your audio went out and it dipped a little bit. So I want you to say that part where you were talking about shifting the family dynamics, and I think you said, and creating something for your children. I just want to make sure I want that word to land and we don't get no audio distortion on that part, because I want folks to hear that.
Yes, we have to understand that it's not just for us. When we change some things about what we do, we're able to now shift generational dynamics. we're able now to create and to pass on to financial legacy to our children, to our children's children, to create intergenerational wealth, all because we made one decision to change our habits and to also be patient and consistent and endure to the end.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. If you're just tuning in, Kayleen G. Newton joining us on the show, certified financial education instructor joining us on the show. And of course, Money Maven, Madam Money Maven. I don't think you need to say Madam if you got Maven. But anyways, the one and only Kayleen joining us here all the way from Grand Bahama. So just for the record, if you're hearing any distortion, you need to blame the providers there in Grand Bahama who ain't getting my girl straight from that Dorian time. But we ain't gonna bring that up no more. I can bring it up later. This internet just ain't working for my good friend there. Anyways, so Kayleen, then it moves then, and I love the what you've shared, that hey, it is a sacrifice. And again, it goes back to that mindset, right? That you have to present yourself with that sacrifice. But your sacrifice and your labor doesn't go in vain, right? Many people think, Dave Ramsey would say, you have to live like no one else so that you can live like no one else, right? So that means that, hey, you got to sacrifice now. You got to live different from your friends. Your friends might not be able to handle the fact that now, you know what, you're on a budget. I can't go out to eat with y'all anymore. Y'all can come by me. We could all do a potluck. But they want to go out. But you're trying to live like no one else now. You're trying to save because you got a plan. And that is where that sacrifice may be uncomfortable, not just for you, but for others around you. How important is when you're talking about those sacrifices, even having conversations with people around you, because there's a shift. When you start to make those sacrifices, when you start to say, hey, listen, I'm going to change the way I spend. So children, we ain't eating out like how we used to eat out, right? Or spouse, significant other, those things that you used to like, we need to get on the same financial page because we're trying to go this place. Friends, listen, I know y'all gonna miss me, but I only got 1 or 2 outings, one outing every 6 months. That's all I got. I can only afford that, and this is my budget. So we gotta. How do you talk to someone about making those sacrifices and the conversations that they have to make if we're serious?
So there are also different ways to approach those conversations. So you definitely hit the very important segments. So definitely your children, definitely your spouse or significant other, and then the friends, right? Mm-hmm. I believe in having open, transparent, authentic conversation with a significant other or a spouse, especially a husband or wife, and also your children. Now, the way you approach those conversations is for them to understand the difference between sacrifice and struggle. Mm. So a lot of us would give the connotation of sacrifice as being something that is so detrimental or so inhibiting that you just don't want to do any of it. But let them understand it from the concept of delayed gratification. So you have to flip your language. It doesn't mean gratification. It's just not instant like a microwave. And you could use the analogy of how food tastes when it simmers on the stove as opposed to microwave. And it's a different flavor, right? And that's the way that you have a conversation with children. Children are very wise. They can pick up in any event what's going on financially in a household, whether you have the discussion with them or not. And I know I told you, we always talk about that statistic that was done by the University. My child is 8 years old. 8 years old. They understand the emotions around money in the environment that they grow up in, whether it's in the home, whether it's church, whether it's culture, whether it's outside environment, whatever it is. So the children know whether it's spoken of or not spoken of. Be intentional about conversation. And from a third level, we talk about that friend segment. I have two schools of thought, especially when I coach individuals from that point of view. If you know that you're going to have so much confrontation and challenge from these friends, or distraction from these friends. You don't have to tell them anything other than I'm unable to come. Okay? When you decide to shift your dynamic, you're not responsible to anyone else what you do and how you do it. When we now remove that expectation, then the experience is different. Now, if you have a different dynamic with friends where you can have that conversation without distraction or the apprehension from your friends, then have that conversation, because what it does now, it opens them up to doing things differently. And now you have a community where you can now accomplish what is necessary. And if you have the dynamics where you cannot have a comfortable, authentic community with your friends, go out there. There are so many vast communities out there that are doing these things, and you could get the support from that point of view. So the ultimate understanding is you owe no one an explanation when you make a full decision that you want to do differently with your money. The only people that you have to have that conversation with as you move through the dynamics, as I said, is your spouse and then your children. But outside of that, it is your own choice, and you can do what you need to do with your money to accomplish the goals that you set forth for yourself.
Yeah, I think that, and I love that we're doing this, because it's so important that you understand that this is a process. The process of change is an intentional road. It isn't one that is done by accident. It's an intentional road, and you will screw up on the journey, right? One of those things is understanding that it isn't a foolproof. You will fall down, and then you just have to get up and keep going, right? So what do you tell folks in that too? That this journey isn't where you don't fall down and scrape your knee. It isn't when you don't buy, listen, man, I need me a Mickey D large fry. I jones in for salty fries. I go into how do you talk folks through that process as well?
So a part of the whole process is to include what I call frugal joys. So I believe that you should include in your budget a line item, and it's something that I call a frugal joy. So what that is you're still able to tap into those things that make you feel good, or to tap into those things that you used to do that you no longer do because you're sacrificing, but you find ways to still do it, but at a lesser cost. So when you do now hit those roadblocks or hit those hard times where your mind can move you through that moment, at least you now have some money in your budget to accomplish that and then get you back on the saddle in order to continue on your journey.
Yeah, no, this is good, because I think that is so important that you, and I love that you put it in there, because there's some roads that say, listen, it's too strict. It doesn't allow for human error, human life, just life.
It's not an all or nothing situation. Now, there are some people who get to the point where they're so broken that they want to move through and get to the end of this road or wherever they're at as quickly as possible. And they keep that commitment and that consistency until they're done. But most of us are not that type of person, because if we were, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in where we need to get out of it. And so you have to be very understanding and give yourself grace, because you now need to be able to live, because you don't want to now entire emotional disposition changes. No one wants to deal with you. You're just such a antagonistic individual, always angry, always bitter, just sulking, or just having those anxiety attacks or different issues because you put something in place and you truly, truly, truly cannot maintain it in a way that is still healthy as you move on the journey. So there has to be some harmony between who you are as a person and what you need to accomplish with your money as you move through your journey.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, more with Kaylee Newton. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
Grand Bahama, it's time to read all about it once again, as the Nassau Guardian starts a weekly Grand Bahama news supplement each and every Tuesday starting February 8th. Learn more about advertising opportunities in the Grand Bahama news supplement by calling Barefoot Marketing at 727-9515 or 827-4578. Grand Bahama, make sure you get your Nassau Guardian daily and grab your Grand Bahama news supplement each Tuesday to keep up with all the latest Grand Bahama news.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Joining me is the one and only Kayleen G. Newton, all the way from Grand Bahama. We're talking about the making and generating and multiplying of wealth. And of course, she is the guru there, money maven. She's also been known as really helping people as a certified financial education instructor on the steps to wealth generation. And I want to welcome Kayleen. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nahaja. Thanks for having me.
Man, listen, you know that. So we've hit on a lot of major points of conversation, topics that I think is always important that we discuss further, right? Like we keep this going forward. We keep our mindset on these topics of making and multiplying wealth. So let's talk about making money now, right? Because folks want to know, okay, how can I make money? How do I take my little and multiply it like the talents? How do I get into the space where my savings of 20% of my 210 over the course of this period of time, I'm now able to multiply that? Or do I need cash up front? Can I use other opportunities? How do I make money?
So there are multiple ways to make money. There are very, as I say, vast ways to make money. So before we even get into that, just quickly, I want persons to understand, because you did touch on it, talking about the 20%, that your income is also a way to make money. And so the more that you look at ensuring that you save, then you're able now to move into the realm of making money, where you can now invest or create a business. And so you can also do that without having money. And that is why relationships are so important, because you pool your talents, your skill set with others to create opportunities for persons to purchase from you. Especially now with COVID and us being in this digital virtual, we can expand opportunities beyond borders. And everything doesn't have to look perfect. Even we have some perfect packaged skill set that now takes us to a point where we can have income. As an example, I have been doing this financial coaching for more than 20 years. But it wasn't something that I had finalized or put in a package where I could have an offering for others. What ended was individuals would have conversations with me who I know, or even who I didn't know when I got into networking opportunities, but they were able to tap into my knowledge. And then they would say, well, how much would you charge if you did X, Y, Z for me? And a lot of us come from the point of view that when we hear that conversation, we would retract and say, oh, don't worry about it. But a mentor of mine said to me, the fact that someone would make that, yes, sometimes they would say it just because it may sound good, but most persons literally want to tap in because they see where you either solve a problem for them or you satisfy a desire that they need. So you know that you're in that zone when you're able to manage the money that you have, and that you've saved money that you now able to invest and take on risk. Because what persons have to understand about multiplication of wealth is there's a level of risk that comes with it. So you have to have that confidence that whatever monies you have that you want to multiply, that you have the risk tolerance for it to happen. And just in some simple terms, when you start to multiply money, you're looking for investments. You're looking for where you now may get into stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You get into that space, everyone's talking about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, buying those types of digital currencies. When you get into that realm, there's a level of risk and a level of risk tolerance. And what I mean by tolerance, are you okay if you lose your money?
Yeah.
Are you okay that this money that you use to invest and multiply, that you're still able to pay for your everyday, your monthly expenses? Are you without having any challenge or worry? This is where you have to be when you start to now think about multiplication of wealth. You have to be in a stable environment with your money to know that if anything was to happen and I lose 100% of what I invest, that I am still okay and I'm still able to take care of myself day to day, month to month, year to year, and my commitments to myself and my family.
Okay, so then I like that. So we have to be in a stable place with our money. So that means that when you find yourself in the multiplying of money, then you've already, so have you already figured out how to make money? Like you figured out how to make money. So now you feel more confident that, hey, I can take some level of risk in multiplying this money.
Yes. And some people may give a different point of view of advice, because you have people who have a high risk tolerance, meaning that by any means necessary, it doesn't matter what comes from it, but I'm going to take this risk.
That's gamblers, though. That's not like gamblers.
That personality. However, when the repercussion of that is when you lose that money, you have some type of loss, or you see where you cannot function every day, then there's an instability. You're in and out of the market. You're in and out of the market, and you need patience in order to build the wealth you need or you desire. You have to have patience. And so you most definitely need to understand that you need to be stable. Most millionaires, the statistics say 65% of self-made millionaires, they have 3 streams of income. But what they do is they master or they make money from one stream and they make sure that that is stable. And then they leverage the money they made from that to now go into a second stream. And that's how they now start their process of multiplication.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, more with Kayleen G. Newton, certified financial education instructor, joining us on the show. We will be back.
Do you know you can get your business cards designed and printed for as low as 18 cents a card? If it's a poster you want, you can pay as little as $6 a square foot. If your print needs are short or long run, digital printing, wide format, or print consultation, call the best. Call Print Masters. Print Masters' goal is to provide its clients with the highest level of personal, professional service at an affordable price. Our state-of-the-art technology also makes working together efficient and easy. Laminations, business cards, flyers, posters, window and floor decals are just a few of the digitized print services offered at Print Masters. Call 302-2361, 302-2361, or visit us at the Nassau Guardian Building in Oaksfield. Print with the best. Print with Print Masters.
Grand Bahama, it's time to read all about it once again, as the Nassau Guardian starts a weekly Grand Bahama news supplement each and every Tuesday starting February 8th. Learn more about advertising opportunities in the Grand Bahama news supplement by calling Barefoot Marketing at 727-9515 or 4578. Grand Bahama, make sure you get your Nassau Guardian daily and grab your Grand Bahama News Supplement each Tuesday to keep up with all the latest Grand Bahama news.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. It's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Kayleen G. Newton joining us on the show today. We're talking about making and multiplying wealth, and accountant and certified financial education instructor Kayleen G. Newton joining us on the show today. All right, so Kayleen, we were talking about the multiplication, the multiplying of wealth, and moving. So we started off, of course, if you're just tuning in, you can listen to the show again online, or you can, of course, the archive for us on Guardian's website as we talk about Wealthy Wednesday. We spoke about earlier in the show, the beginning of the show, the mindset required to shift yourself out of this into another space of financial growth, wealth, and preparedness, etc. Then we talked about those conversations, some of the work that has to be put into it. Then how do you make money? Viewing the ability to create or generate income. And now we're talking about multiplying your income. Kayleen, one of the things I remember in the Cash Flow Quadrant by Kiyosaki, part of his Rich Dad Poor Dad series, I always love that quadrant because it shows it as if you got your square, right? Mm-hmm. And on the left side of the quadrant you have employee, self-employed, and on the right side you have business owner, investor, and that everyone should wish to be on the right side of the quadrant, right? Because that right side of the quadrant is when we start to see growth and multiplication, right? Yeah. So the multiplying factor, that, because I think many of us, we go in and we want to just start off, I want to be able to have my own money. I want to be able to be my own boss, make my own rules. And I don't know if many of us have a number, right? Or more so we have an idea. But do we plan on the multiplication side of it? Do you find it in your experience that we have a limit on how far we think, and then you have to be pushed to the next limit? Or do most of your clients show up and say, listen, I want to be able to multiply my wealth. I want to be able to do this and that. Or is that a training that we go through?
No, now most persons don't start from that point of view or that mindset of multiplication. Most persons start from, if I just want to make money. I just want to make money. And not understanding that just as you can make money, but you need to make it and multiply it on top of that sustainable wealth. So most persons don't start there, but when you start to have the conversations about finding multiple ways to make money, then you also now get into the thought process of how to multiply it. And so it is a process. It isn't something that most persons start with, but it definitely is something that people can quickly get to. That mindset, they can shift it very quickly when they understand when you start to multiply is where the real growth is where the real wealth is. And once they realize it, it's an easy position for them to move to that. And what is ironic though is this younger generation, a lot of them are starting from that point of view. They are, because they don't want to and live and do what their parents did or what their elders did. So they're now having a different mindset. But when you think about the Gen Xers and the baby boomers and just persons even under our generation, they don't have that thought process. But the millennials, they're now looking at it differently.
Okay, say that last part again for me because of the audio part. You said that the millennial generation, this younger generation, they view it
The,
differently. Say it again.
the younger generation, the millennials and the Gen Ys and Zs, they are looking at making money differently. They want to jump right into multiplying their money.
Yeah, and that sounds about right, right? That sounds about right. Like, okay, listen, I got a slow 20. What is that hustle I need to make that a quick 100? You know, but what are the pitfalls of, you know, multiplication? Are there pitfalls? The pros and cons. Of course, we know what the pros are. I was listening to in an interview with the CEO of FTX, and he's told the story of how he made $1 million a day by noticing that Bitcoin in the US on the exchange was at $10,000, and on the Japanese exchange it was $11,000. And what he would do with 10 Bitcoin, sell it at one price, put it over in the next exchange. Yeah. Brilliant, right? Brilliant.
I mean, that opportunity doesn't exist anymore because they now see that. But definitely, what you have to, there are some pitfalls, and that's the reason why you have to understand your risk tolerance, because there is the pitfall with multiplication is greed.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you're so driven by that you're not being wise about or being patient about what that investment should be or do. And so you will try anything in order to multiply it, and then it creates instability. And then you could also have the emotion of fear that comes with it, because then you want to make sure that you don't lose. And so you don't give yourself the time frame that it takes in order to really maximize and leverage and make the return that you could make on your investment. So there are some pitfalls, but it all goes back to what you think and your mindset and how you feel about what you're doing. You know, so you have to also now, I like to say, when you get into investment, you have to set aside your emotions.
Yeah.
Because if your emotions are driving your decisions, it creates chaos when it comes to your investment portfolio. And so you would end up losing more than gaining, because you just, you know, coming from every point of view, and it's not coming together like in a synergy in order to maximize and give you the best return.
Yeah, and you know, that is where, you know, the growth of it all comes in, right? The sort of financial maturity. So it's a process of starting, because I'm sure you get people at different rungs in their lives, right? So you get some folks who say, listen, I have a good job. My husband and I, we're good together. My wife and I, we're good together. We both have good careers. We find ourselves close to six figures, over six figures in income, but we have an issue with debt. Right? So our lifestyle is up to par with our income. So we still have challenges saving. We still have challenges investing. We're not broke, but we ain't got a lot. And you've seen that in conversations, I'm sure.
Yes. But
so go ahead.
This is the reason why you have to make sure you have someone who understands these different dynamics and can give you solutions, because you use the correct word, lifestyle. Most of the debt that persons have is because of their lifestyle. And if you're at a point in your life, and there's a concept in investment called the rule of 72, and it tells you what time is necessary in order to double your investment in value. And so when you do have these other dynamics like debt, like lifestyles that are at par or even beyond the income that comes in, there's still some things that you can do in order to tap into investment. So an investment that a lot of Bahamians don't tap into, and they don't look at it as investment, is employer retirement plans. So this is another one that you could leverage, because persons are just looking at it as money coming out of my salary. But when you're a part of a retirement plan, able to leverage a figure of interest that you would never do if it wasn't a retirement plan, or you would never get if it was a basic savings. And especially if they are matching it to a certain amount, I tell persons, whatever that employer is matching it to, ensure that at minimum, you're also applying that to your retirement fund.
Yes. Yes.
So that is a type of investment. That's long-term investment where you're looking at this money is going to be around for me either to live my life after I retire or even continue with a business or an investment after I retire. So it's not money that you're looking for. We don't tap into those things over here in the Bahamas. A lot of persons don't realize that that is an investment. And so that is just an example of something that's simple that can also give you great returns on back end.
Yeah, and I love that too, because you're right. Well, one of the things that we tend to overlook is how do you plan? You have to think long term, and with the hope that you will see long term. Like I'm always saddened by the fact that we're kind of resentful of thinking about the future when it comes to saving money or investing money. So, like you said, your employer's pension fund, or you're deciding to get a sort of a life insurance plan that can take care of your family or yourself in retirement, or some sort of long-term mutual fund that may not be at 15% or 16% of a stock market sort of investment, but that is far more secure, diversified, and that if you give it 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you're in a good space. But I'm saddened by that we don't do it, or we don't view it as something that we need to spend our now money on. And I'm always challenged, and I always feel for us, because of course, one of the things COVID has shown us, Dorian has shown us, is that instantly your life can be upended, and you can lose someone who was a breadwinner. You can lose income and find yourself struggling for a long time. How do you broach that mindset too when we talk about multiplying your wealth?
So from that point of view, you have to also, that type of mindset is a harder mindset to broach. And I'm not saying that you can't break the mindset, but it's a hard mindset to broach because you would have already gotten to a place in your life where there is fear associated with losing it all. So you don't want to take the risks that are necessary, but it's all about them understanding what their ultimate reason is, or their ultimate why. What do you want to accomplish after it's all said and done? Because some people don't ever think beyond what they want for themselves, and that's why they don't ever think that there is more that can come. And so they believe that it's all about just working to pay bills and acquiring stuff. But I think what COVID has definitely done, and the blessing with Dorian and COVID, is people are now understanding that if I don't plan, what will happen to me is worse than if I continue to live my life as if these things would never happen.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that is now the blessing where the mindset is changing. And then people are understanding too that it's not about things anymore. What experiences do I want for my life? What do I want to leave for my children? And so that in itself is that recognition is causing them to reorganize what they do with their money. And then we can easily have the conversation where you start, as I said, we look at non-traditional ways to multiply money. Then if they have the risk tolerance and they have the access to cash, then you look at the more speculative ways, like the investment in cryptocurrencies, in order to now multiply their money.
Yeah, just trust me. I like that crypto space, but it is risky.
Oh,
risky. the volatility of crypto, you have to be emotionally ready, financially ready. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, for the love of St. Peter.
No, you have to have a diversified portfolio. And
Yes.
and that's just for the average person. As I said, you have individuals who may be able to maneuver in that space without the emotional attachment and still be okay with the volatility, but that's not the average person.
Yep.
So you have to know who you are as an individual emotionally and be very honest about that in order to tap into what works for your personality when it comes to investment.
Yes. And that's, one of the things that I say, Kayleen, is when I need to loan money. No, let me don't say this on there because somebody gonna hit me up and say, well, that's what you said on there. Never mind. I can tell you that.
Don't loan what you can lose.
Man, thanks. I was gonna say that because, child, people be like, I go in a mindset that you ain't gonna pay me back.
If I tell you what has happened to me, I mean, my experience doing that because people, when they're desperate, they know everything they need to say to tap into your emotion for you to lend it to them. But as soon as you lend it to them, they find every reason why amnesia kicked in.
Oh, yeah.
They don't pay you back.
Or every certainty. Listen, why is it that when people want to borrow money, they can tell you all the different ways they can get that money back to you because X, Y, and Z, and they have this coming. And I've started to tell people, why you just don't wait? Just wait. Just wait it out. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, more with Kaylee and G. Newton, certified financial education instructor, joining us on the show. We will be back.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Know how important collecting your money can be to the success of your business. Start your relationship with Fidelity today so that we can show you the many options available to you with our merchant services. From click and pay options online to merchant terminals and e-commerce options. We're here to help your business succeed. For more details, speak to one of our business development officers at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit our website at fidelitygroup.com or visit any of our branches.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Burger King Nassau is taking spice to new heights with the new Baja Whopper and Baja Crispy Chicken sandwiches. Enjoy your choice of a flame-grilled Whopper or a crispy chicken filet topped with chipotle sauce, guacamole, jalapenos, cheese, lettuce, and tomato, all on a fresh potato bun. The new Baja sandwiches at Burger King Nassau pack plenty of flavor, and with an ice-cold Pepsi and fries or onion rings, it's the perfect way to fill your day. The Baja Whopper and Baja Crispy Chicken sandwich are only available at Burger King Nassau, where taste is king.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
J.S. Johnson Insurance. Peace of mind.
I had got prostate cancer. My family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Do you know you can get your business cards designed and printed for as low as 18 cents a card? If it's a poster you want, you can pay as little as $6 a square foot. If your print needs are short or long run, digital printing, wide format, or print consultation, call the best. Call Print Masters. Print Masters' goal is to provide its clients with the highest level of personal, professional service at an affordable price. Our state-of-the-art technology also makes working together efficient and easy. Laminations, business cards, flyers, posters, window and floor decals are just a few of the digitized print services offered at Print Masters. Call 302-2361, 302-2361, or visit us at the Nassau Guardian Building in Oaksfield. Print with the best. Print with Print Masters.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Kayleen G. Newton joining us. When you talk about, and we're talking about generating, but multiplying wealth with certified financial education instructor, accountant, certified fraud specialist certified. That when we're talking about those steps, those transitions, those mindset shift, the making of it, the viewing of money, the implementation of skill sets to make money, the multiplying of money. Let's talk about the overall picture one must see, right? Because we're getting to, with vision. Vision is seeing the end and then trying to, recreate it or construct it, right? Vision sees it, and then you go into asking questions, strategizing. Okay, but I saw the building in my head, so now I have to get someone to draw this for me. Then after I draw it, they got to put in the electrical. They got to put all of these things. Questions come up through how many people you want, how many parking spaces, what's the capacity, how many years will it take to get to this point? Who do I have to call to get the loan? There's a process from vision, from the place where you saw the ending. The process that you've seen in your time, Kayleen, in your experience, what does a timeline look like normally from the person who has said, listen, my income right now is $210 a week. I'm on minimum wage, right? I have 3 kids. I don't live with the mother of my children, but I take care of my kids. When they come to you and they say, this is where I see myself, what sort of timeline do you tend to give someone based on certain criteria? Of course, if you say, well, listen, if you stick to this plan, we got a 5-year plan, we got a 10-year plan, we got a 15-year plan. What sort of timeline have you seen in your career, in your practice, your field, where people move from minimum wage to multiplication?
So on average, and I understand your question, but I don't like to think about timelines because, and let me tell you why, or given a rule of thumb with a timeline, because when someone desires a particular outcome, it could accelerate a timeline that's unimaginable. And so, as I said earlier, it's about the habits that you implement that also creates the momentum and the commitment and consistency around those habits. So I have seen individuals who have the type of scenario that you talked about with the minimum wage and the children, but one aspect where within 10 years to 15 years, they have put themselves on a pathway to prosperity. But then you have where you have the same scenario and it may have taken that person 30 years or the plan that we had to implement would take them 30 years to get where they need to go. So definitely desire is a component that would change the timeline. And then also if individuals have debt, because a lot of times we like to acknowledge or only talk about persons who are at minimum wage or at a certain income level, but they may have no debt. I know persons who make 6 figures and they're living paycheck to paycheck. And so it is your behaviors that create the timeline that you can, the timeline or the result from a timeline. And also me giving the plan that is most beneficial for that individual. So there's no clear-cut answer when it comes to timeline, but it's definitely your desire, your dedication, your behavior, and especially if you have debt, that impacts how you get from where you're at to what you ultimately want to accomplish. So you have to just honest about it, and then you're able to create the plan to get you where you want to go. I know persons who, especially I've had clients, the older you are, your timeline focus is less. So you may be 50, 55, 60, and you want to get to be at a certain place at 65. And when you now have that type of situation, I have seen where persons have done some things that are, it's not even textbook. It'll blow your mind because they now have a desire, because they know what their ultimate destiny. So I don't want anyone to believe a timeline is going to dictate how you are able to get to the point of multiplication or get to the point of creating wealth. But it is something that you should be focused on, because then it'll determine whether you're going to be on this journey for a long, long, long time or for the shortest time possible, because you're actually doing the work.
Yeah. It's one of the themes that runs through this process of making and multiplying wealth is the mindset that is required to do it. The level of fortitude, tenacity, determination, that unless you've been gifted money by your parents and you know how to maintain that money too.
Okay. I was just going to interject and say, even with that. And so that's why it always comes back to the simplest concept of your habits. What are you doing? What do you do? Because someone can give you money. There was a TV show where they had persons who won the lotto and they were broke in 2 years or whatever in a short space of time, because it isn't the amount of money you have or what has been given to you. If you don't know what to do with it, you're going to lose it.
Yep. You're right. That's the God's honest truth. If you don't know what to do with it, you'll lose it. Because of course, we find that happens with businesses or generational wealth. A lot of the kids don't know how, or were never taught, okay, this is how you make money, maintain money. So they'll get a house from their parents who worked hard to get that house to put them in. And then they'll destroy it. They'll watch it go to the ground. I've heard of stories where parents got a multi-unit commercial building. The children just end up watching it deteriorate and fight over the income, but nobody saw fit to maintain it. So we sell it off. We'll sell it to whomever's the highest bidder. And of course, the Chinese who come in country, they look for real estate. So we're always quick to sell off, property, and don't see the value in it, because we never were trained or we never cared enough to say, okay, how do I maintain wealth? How do we view this? And that is something that has to travel generationally as parents. How do we make sure that whatever wealth or whatever we acquire, that we do for our children? And not just for our children, because you want to live a good life. You want to travel more. You want to see the world. You want to be able to, live comfortably. But that what we have done, what we're learning, that it is something that we teach, just like fables, just like you gossip, just instead of gossiping, teach your children how to make and multiply wealth. Teach your children about financial responsibility, about sacrifices, and about making wise fiscal decisions. Because then all we've done was create a lot more spoiled children without any acumen. And they will end up being employees or worse, living or waiting for other people to take care of them. How do you, in your teaching, and of course as an educator, how do you help people to teach others? Like, how do you teach children? Like, what should we be doing as parents?
Well, that's the reason why you have to ensure that you have the conversations with the children. You know, let them understand what you're trying to do, because a lot of reasons why wealth doesn't transition or isn't passed on to, and you use some examples of having a commercial building and they allowing it to become dilapidated or that sort of thing. It's because we now want to impose on the next generation or our children what we see wealth to be. Those are valuable, but if I don't see any value in it, then I will lose it. And see, that's what's happening with a lot of situations with children. Money has been so much of a topic of taboo, or no, this is not something to talk about. The children don't understand what the parents went through or what they did in order to create that wealth, and the fact that they want the wealth to transition beyond themselves to other generations. So you have to have the conversation, number one. Bring the children in on the conversation. You'll say, that's not children, that shouldn't be in front of children, but it's the type of conversation you have. You don't have to talk about the ins and outs of what you're doing. You just need to talk about them understanding the value of something. Okay, this is an asset. What is an asset, mommy, daddy? An asset is something that makes money for you or makes more money for you. You'll be surprised to know what kind of conversations that you can have with children. Because one of the things that I also do is I do a lot of instruction to children of those formative years when it comes around money management. And I get so excited because the conversation is so dynamic, because these children understand it. They understand it, and they're seeking more knowledge in order for them to do more when they get older. There's so many young persons now who have businesses who became millionaires, billionaires. There's a young boy who is from, I think it's either Philly, I want to say Philadelphia. His name is Spurgo. His brand is the Spurgo brand. He's now a billionaire almost a billionaire within 3 years of launching his brand.
Oh, wow.
And he started when he was 13. And he started because what he saw as community was all of the gang and the destruction, and he wanted differently. So he created this lifestyle brand. It's just warm-up suits it started with. And now he got Damon John to become an investor in his product. But I say that to say he started from a point of view that he wanted differently, but he continued conversations with individuals who could now move them on where it could be more than just being a community store. I could go beyond that, and I could create this wealth. And now he has mentors and a solidified business that can cause him to maintain his wealth and pass on his wealth. So you have to have the conversations, and do not despise small beginnings. Do not despise what you use to bring that across to the children. And you will see where they'll start to have more conversations with you and be more inquisitive and ask more questions, and the conversation could expand. So no longer keep things as a secret, but use it as an educational opportunity so that they can understand the value of what you have.
In terms of mentorship, how important is mentorship? Because I know we're well out of time, but how important is mentorship financially? Because of course that's what you do, but how important is it?
Mentorship to me is one of the main things that you need, because in order to get where you need to go, you also need direction. And I always use the analogy of a GPS. So you may have some, you may know where or think you know where you're going, but once you put in that actual destination, the GPS gives you a direct course of action. And that's what mentorship gives you, and that's what coaching gives you. It gives you a direct course of action, and it brings together all the ideas that you have in your mind and what you think you should do, and gives you a blueprint on how to make accomplish or how to get it done.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you for that, because I think that for me, mentorship was important, vitally important in all my stages of life, to help me to get where I am, even to just today. I'm grateful for all of it. Kayleen, thank you so much. How can folks reach you if they want to, get a chance to hang out and learn more and pay for your services?
So all they need to do is jump on my website and subscribe, and it's my name, Kayleen Newton, CALINENEWTON.com. Simple as that.
Kayleen,
and
man, listen,
everything is on the website.
And say it again, the last part.
Everything is on the website. How to get to me. You have freebies, and you also have, I have paid links. Whatever you need, you can just go on the website, traverse the website, and anything you need is right there.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You've been fantastic. And we made it through with the technical issues as well. Good stuff.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
All right. So I want to bring on, before we go, Erica Morris, president of Legacy College Readiness and Tours. She's informing all of 11th and 12th graders in the Bahamas about the Junior Achievement Virtual College Fair. Erica, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a bit more about this virtual fair.
Thank you so much, Nahaja. Thank you so much for having me. This year, Legacy College Readiness and Tours will be presenting for Junior Achievement their virtual college fair. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have it face-to-face because of the restrictions, but that's okay, because having it virtually, we're able to reach more students in the Bahamas. This is open to all the 11th and 12th graders in the Bahamas, from Freeport to Inagua. If you are in the 11th or 12th grade, we encourage you to register for the Junior Achievement Virtual College Fair. It's from February 14th through the 19th. I know. February 14th is Valentine's Day, but love yourself and register for the college fair. Each night we will be having schools presenting, 4 schools presenting each night. Each school will have 1 hour to present. They will have 1 hour to present. So you can also ask questions. We will have schools, of course, from the Bahamas, the United States, France, and Grenada. And since we're speaking about the two countries, France and Grenada, I'd like to introduce one of our newest schools. It's called Cfam. It's an American business school in France. I had my first student to actually attend there. She's in France, Lyon, France right now. And I can't remember which business course she's taking, but she's pursuing her business degree there. Okay. And they have so many programs there. I think about my students that are, in hospitality management. That school, not only if you decide to study over there abroad for 1 year you do your theory. One semester you do your theory. The second semester, you can actually do practical, where you'll get a paid intern where they will actually place you in anything in hospitality management in France. No, you don't have to know French. It will help, but you don't have to know French, okay? And then my school in Grenada, it's St. George's University for all of those that are seeking something in the medical field. As a student from the Caribbean or even from the Bahamas, going in as a medical student in your freshman year, you can get 65% off of your tuition. And we know how expensive medical school can be. And if you decide to matriculate to their medical school, I think it's about 30% off in medical school. And, I think that would really be a great opportunity, because with going there, St. George's, you're able to shave off 1 year of medical school. How do you do that? You have to register for the college fair to find that out. Okay, we do have a lot of schools in the United States. We have MTSU, Georgia State, SUNY Oswego, Southern Alabama. We just have schools all over. Point Park, we have schools. BTVI will be presenting. I love BTVI. And BTVI has a lot of partnerships with a lot of the schools in the U.S. too. And my other favorite, I love you, BTVI, but my next favorite is LJM Maritime. I could never understand for the life of me. We live here in the Bahamas, but we don't get a lot of people in Maritime. And it's right there in Nassau, you know. I just think that, you know, we should check it out. Even though you may not be interested in it, oh, I don't want to do anything maritime, but it has so many different fields. You know, they have doctors on those boats. They need lawyers for maritime. So if you're interested in being a lawyer, why not do maritime law? If you're interested in being a doctor, you know, they need doctors on a lot of those ships. And being with Maritime, LJM Maritime, you also have an opportunity to travel the world. And that is a part of your degree from LJM Maritime. So I'm encouraging all of you, by the sound of my voice, parents and guardians of 11th and 12th graders, encourage them to register for the Junior Achievement Virtual College Fair. In order to do that, you can go to www.legacycollegereadiness.com or juniораchievement.org. jabahamas.org. Or if you have any more questions, please give us a call at 802-3169. Nahaja, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
No, we appreciate you, Erica. Thank you for all of the work you do with helping our young people. Now, before I go, there is an announcement that I need to make. This year will mark 10 years that I've been doing talk radio. 10 years, 5 years, I think you guys have heard me say it, 5 years I was talking sports. My actual love in commentary is sports, talking about the NFL, the NBA. And the last 5.5 years, I would say, or 5 years, 5.5, yeah. So 4.5 talking sports, 5.5. So coming in at the tail end of the Christie administration, really switching my conversation into more of the political arena in our national discussion, right, of what is right and what is wrong, what I believe is right and wrong, what we should stand up for, stand up against, who we should be. And it was an arena that I had no business being in because my knowledge was limited. All I had was passion. And my good friend C.A. Nuri was with me through that ride at the very beginning when I called him up and I said, I like what you write on Facebook. Let's talk. And so we have been through 2 administrations. Then we were saying that the Christie administration had to go. And in this lap, the Minnis one had to go as well. And so what I found in those years that I've learned a lot and I've been blessed beyond measure. But for everything, there is a season and a time under the sun. And I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that my time in this space has come to an end. And so this week will be my last week on air. Friday will be my last day. The Hit Back with Nahaja Black will be ending. And I'll tell you more about it, the journey that's before me coming on Friday. But it's one that was taken with a lot of prayer and consideration. And I tell you that God is indeed good. And His mercies, His grace, all of those things. I prove Him over and over. This will be a shock for many. But all of my friends and family know that this has been something that my husband and I have been praying and contemplating for a while. And so now it's the next step. So you heard it right. This is the last week. You will be hearing my voice on national radio. And I'll tell you more about what's the next step for me on Friday. But tomorrow, I have a special guest joining me, Bishop Neil C. Ellis. And that was also pre-recorded. But I wanted to get him on the air. If this was going to be my last week, I had to get Bishop on the show. So everyone, big news. Hope you're okay, because this was hard for me to say. I've been contemplating this conversation for so long. It's very stressful saying goodbye to all of you who have trusted me with your time. And so Friday, I'll be live on air, and you can tell me all your good, bad, and ugly on Friday. Everyone, tell me what you think. What are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on it? So we're leaving. I'm leaving officially, and it's bittersweet for sure. It is a bittersweet thing, but we have 2 more good days. So I don't want anyone to get emotional on it. This is already an emotional process for me, an emotional time, for sure, knowing full well that that I've been doing this for a long time, y'all, for a very, very long time. And looking forward to the new chapter. I've already started getting text messages and whatnot. And so I'm grateful for the time. You know, one of the things, and I'll share the story with you before we go. So my good boss, Dwight Strawn, one of my favorite people in the whole world, has the wryest sense of humor. Makes me laugh in the morning. He got on me about saying, you know, you gotta woman up now. You want to leave us and you don't want to woman up. And so to Dwight, I say I am woman upping and saying a goodbye. I'm not good with goodbyes. It's always see you later. And so I'm looking forward to the next space, to where God has put me, and looking forward to, and I'll tell you all more about it on Friday, because tomorrow I have a special guest in studio as well. P.S. Yesterday's show with Rick Fox was fire. It's a side note. Nobody cares, but yesterday's show was very good. And so I'm excited, man. I am excited, but it is bittersweet. We've been doing this conversation on Guardians since 2019. I came here with a bun in the oven in November, and took a break only for a month. And we were in the midst of COVID. I had a lockdown baby in the hospital. And since then, we've been flying. And I appreciate every one of you for your time and for your encouragement when I felt low, for helping me get through the tough times and all of the joy that came with it, all of the jokes we've had along the way. But the story is only a chapter. These are just chapters in the book of life. And I'm thoroughly excited for the next chapter that is set before me. And what I will be praying for really loudly, though, because one of the things that, all of this I'm supposed to be doing on Friday, but I'm open for any thoughts, concerns, criticisms. I'm a grown woman, so I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you if you wish. But one of the things that I'll be praying for, and one of the things that matters to me, you know, is that we continue to set high standards in our personal lives, in our spiritual lives. High standards then transfers to our leadership. If we raise our personal mindset and culture, if we seek to have better interpersonal skills, then when we step out of our homes, because we've built a kingdom in our house, there's an understanding of what growth and dynasty should be. And when we step out into the environment, wherever we are great, destined for greatness, preordained to be someone fantastic. And therefore, you can't talk to me any kind of way. Therefore, I won't shrink when you say what you have to say. I'll stand up for what I believe is right. And that spirit, I pray that it continues, and that whomever comes next in this spot will continue that fight without any prejudice, right? Without any sides. We'll say, call a spade, because we need that. We deserve that as a people, and we continue to need that. And by no means was I perfect. I got stuff wrong. But I'm grown, y'all. Grown woman, them is two grown things. And so you own up to your mistakes. You live and you learn, and then you get loves, right? And so it's going to be fun. I had someone message me and say they're going to miss their ride from out west to east. Man, look here. Who knew 4 to 6 could be so much fun? Tomorrow, I got Bishop Ellis joining me on the show. And I'm pretty stoked about that conversation as well. And then on Friday, my good friend C.A. Nuri will be joining me. as we say farewell, CA and I have been together for a long time. My buddy. And so it'll be fitting that he and I wrap it up together. We had some fun on radio all the way from ZSR days, from sports radio days, from Steve McKinney days, when Ken Andrews, Pastor Ken Andrews now, but he was the one who heard my voice. He said, I like your voice. Ain't know nothing about a sister. And then Steve took a chance and said, you can do your sports show, but you got to be a sports journalist for us, a sports reporter, not a journalist. I didn't come with them sort of degrees. And all I had was a deep love for conversation and a curiosity that has led me well in this field. And so I'm pretty excited, man. I'm pretty excited that, you know, of all the roads that God has taken, and he's taken this road with me. And I never saw it coming. Again, young lady with economics, international relations. That's my training, my background. Became an entrepreneur with my husband and I. And then kind of did this. And God just grew this, enlarged this. I got stories to tell. If I told you my story, it would be stories to tell. That I would say, though, that the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. And when you walk in his will, it doesn't mean that the road will be easy. It doesn't mean that you won't have opposition. And for someone who grew up very shy, I surely did put myself in this problem. So anyways, we got to go. Time for news. Listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio. See you guys tomorrow. Bishop Neil Ellis. We're out.